Welcome to Money Matters. I'm DCrowell from Mortgage Network, and in this segment I'd like to talk about the jobs report which came out today, Friday the 7th of October. The jobs report showed a loss of jobs in the U.S. economy of 33,000. Just to orient you, remember that we've been experiencing month-over-month job growth for as far back almost as you can remember, for about 7 or 8 years at the moment. Month-over-month job growth, 150,000 jobs, 180,000 jobs, 230,000 jobs, 180,000 jobs. In August, 169,000 jobs. This month-over-month continuing job growth has been really the dominant statistic in the slow but sure economic recovery that we've had starting in 2010. So it's the Obama economic recovery continued into the Trump administration, and it's a slow, grinding, month-over-month recovery that is documented mostly by jobs growth. Oddly, this month, what you see is not job growth, but an actual loss of jobs. So it's going from a level of around 200,000 new jobs down to minus 30,000 jobs. The economy lost jobs. Now, economists are giving that terrible result a free pass for the most part as the hurricane effect from Irma and Maria. The back-to-back hurricanes have caused an enormous amount of disruption and dislocation in the economy, and lower paying jobs, construction jobs and so forth. Lower paying jobs are the first to suffer. These are job numbers for September, and September was the month affected. So economists are not overreacting. They're expecting job growth to be back next month, but we'll see. The other very interesting phenomenon is that the rate of unemployment has continued to fall even with this terrible month. The rate of unemployment has now fallen from 4.4% unemployed to 4.2% unemployed, which I believe is the best unemployment rate shown by the economy in 14 years. So we are, by virtually all economic indicators and by all judgments from economists, we are at full employment at the moment. This is such an interesting issue. The employment issue is such an interesting issue because it's like a many-faceted stone, gemstone, diamond. Every time you look at the unemployment or the employment statistics, you see a different facet of it. On the one hand, it's the strongest indicator of our growing economy for the last 7.5 years. On the other hand, it's the major indicator, different facet, of the weakness in our economy for the last 2 decades. Same subject, which is employment data, but different perspective. Why can it be the strongest and also the weakest? It's the weakest because for the last 20 years there's been virtually no growth. After adjusting for inflation, virtually no growth in wages for the bottom 70% of the economy. For 70% of the people working in the U.S. economy, the bottom 70%, there has been, after adjustment for inflation, zero wage growth. over that same period of time, core necessities have increased greatly in core necessities and core indicators of success in American lifestyles have increased greatly in cost, far beyond the adjustment for the average rate of inflation over the time. So while inflation year over year may have increased by 2%, 3%, 2%, 1.5%, 0%, 2%, the standout numbers are the cost of medical care, which has increased over double over that period, the cost of higher education, which has nearly tripled over that period, the cost of housing, which has net increased 50% over that period. So what you have is a standard of living of the bottom 2/3 of the American economy, which has actually declined over the last 20 years. So the perception that the unemployment data tell the story is true and not true, up and down, good and bad. It's all of those things at the same time. It's a fascinating number. Now, carry that forward one step. The primary message that allowed Donald Trump as an independent to unexpectedly win the last election was his very strong understanding that American workers felt displaced, felt disconnected, and felt unfairly dealt with in the American economy as a whole. The numbers that I've just laid out for you show that he was absolutely and precisely correct. The Democrats, normally the protectors of the working class, had found themselves disconnected from that message and not trusted to look after the workers, the bottom 2/3 of the economy. Donald Trump spoke directly to them with an economic message saying, I will see to it that you not only get jobs, but that you get better jobs for higher pay. I mean, that was the promise. Whether or not the promise comes true, whether or not he's able to deliver, whether or not it's even his fault or responsibility to deliver, the fact of the matter is that the message was absolutely on point with, directly on point with the facts on the ground, which is that the American worker over the last 20 years has lost ground in these core areas and in these in overall standard of living. If you then look further at the economic data embedded in the employment numbers, what you find is that 78% of workers between 25 and 55, which is the core core employment area, 78% of those workers are employed, 22% of those workers are unemployed. That's a big number. That's a bigger number than we've had before. So that's another facet of this unemployment number. Why are so many prime workers unemployed? For that, we need a whole separate segment. The big recession that happened in 2007, 8, 9, 10, the big recession that happened, this is a hint at what I believe the answer to be, and many economists believe the answer to be. That big recession dislocated the economy in certain ways that make it impossible for some of the workers to find their way back into the workforce. there appears to be several million workers who, after they entered long-term unemployed ranks, are finding it virtually impossible to rejoin the ranks of the employed. So that's a topic for another time. It's good to have been with you, and Emily will be with you momentarily for the second half of the show. This is David Crowell for Money Matters.